Hi everyone, let's go ahead and see how we can retrieve rows by its index level. For example, we have our data frame NBA and we want to retrieve rows by their index name. Currently we know that how you can retrieve the columns by specifying their column names, but there are the rows here and these rows are as the index and we don't know how to get these rows. Alright. So we have not seen those actually yet that we need to see in this lecture. There is method in Pandas which is known as ilock. You can use that ilock to access the rows here. So I say here ilock nba.ilock. Thereafter it should be ilock. That's the index location. In this we can specify the location of index which we want. So here I want to say that a 0. So with the 0 we will be getting the first row. Alright, do remember this first row values, and if I'm just gonna run this, you will be getting here first row. Alright, similarly you can define here any index value. So that's the 10th index value which we are getting here. If you want to retrieve a multiple rows together, that you can also specify something like this nba.ilock. In this, you need to define the index which you want, something like this 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's say I also want here a 10 and 12 and 14. So all these index will be returned here as the Pandas data frame. You see the difference here. What happens once if you use only one index, then it will be returned as the series. But if you put that inside a list here, then it will return as the data frame. That's the difference here. So I put here inside a list, I put here inside this square bracket a list of index. So it returns here a list of it returns here a data frame. Similarly, you can select here, any the ilock. Now there is another term which is actually the location. Alright, that's the lock. That you can also get that something like this nba.lock. This is the location. So this one, if you use here a location, then you call it by its name. But if you use here ilock, then you call it by its index. But what's the difference here in this data frame? In this data frame, it may not be visible to you the difference between ilock and the lock. The reason is here. These are the index, and obviously this index position is 0 and value which you see here, that is also 0. So if I call it with the 0, then you might not know that whether I'm referring it by its location or by its name. Alright, for example, if I say it something like this nba.lock 0, so you will be given here the first row. Alright, similarly I can also put it something like this. It will return here as the data frame. Alright, now I told you that it's very minor difference between ilock and the lock, and with current data frame it is not visible. That is why I'm going to set the name as its index. Then I'll show you the difference between ilock and lock. So to set an index, to set an index of any of these columns, for that the syntax of that is something like this nba.setIndex. In that I put here the name which I'm gonna set as the index, which is something like this nba.setIndex name. Now you see there you have here a data frame where index of this is name, and then here I say here in place equal to true. So if I do that, then this NBA will be modified and name will be set as the index. Now if you check here, NBA is something like this. As I told you earlier that with the ilock, we are going to refer location by its index number. But if I say lock, then I'm referring location by its name. Since it is now very much clear that these index, we have here name and the position. So this comes at the 0th position, this comes at the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, like that. That means if I do something like this nba.ilock, that's the index location 0, so I'll be getting this one. let's go ahead and copy this. All right, so I'm getting first one. Now you see there the first one. All right, I log 0. But suppose that now you see there the name is there, the first one, that's the name I copied here. You see there, it's the same name which I copied earlier. And if you get here the 10, you get something like that. All right, so let's take this 0 as the example. Now the last time what we did here, then we also used their log as well. Now if I do here nba.log, that's the nba.location 0, it will give you here the last number. Why? If you see this NBA data frame, you see the index, the last index is a 0 here. All right. So if we use here a log, then it is going to refer it for its index name. And similarly here, if you use the 10, since we don't have any index name as a 10, that is why we are getting here this key error. That means now we need to refer this log with its name. So here we have this name, which I'm gonna just put it here. Now it will return here this particular index there, and these are the value for that index. So that's the difference between the log and ilog. Similarly, if you have this data frame and you do something like this, it will return this index as the array here. And then you can get the list of length of this array, and length of this is 558. Similarly, if you want to check if any value is inside this index, you can simply do something like this. So we say that 0 in nba.index, no, 0 is not there. Do remember this, we are referring as a string. But if I say here 0 as a number in index, yes, it is there. All right. Similarly, if I say this is in index, obviously we know that that is in index. And if I do something like that, you will be seeing that yes, that one is into index. All right, perfect. So that's the very minor difference between the log and the ilog. Let's go ahead and reset our index. Currently we have NBA here. In this I have a name which is set as the index. So to reset the index, you can do like this, nba.reset index, and then you can do in place equal to true. All right. If you do like that, you will be now seeing that here our name has been reset as a regular column, and this index is replaced with its index position. That means now once again, if we go back for log and ilog, you will not see any difference between their uses because their index position and name are same here. All right, this is all about in this lesson. I'll see you in next one.